For a second time this week, and in the same general area of Racetrack Road in the Julington Creek area, a kid is injured in an e-bike crash. Unlike Monday night, where that 12-year-old boy was critically injured, yesterday's accident did not result in serious injuries. But it is illuminating some of the dangers of those e-bikes that we're seeing with increased frequency in a lot of our communities. And remember, the state law on those is if you're 16 and under, you're required to wear a helmet. Same with actually non-motorized bicycles, but show of hands on who actually enforces that with their kids or with neighbors' kids or anyone you may see. It'll be an interesting next several weeks to see what sort of legislation or changes St. Johns County lawmakers may consider. We've been reporting out some of their efforts and at least some of their concerns that may ultimately come to bear in form of legislation. It also does remind us of the not too long ago effort by St. John's lawmakers to try to better regulate the age of people who can be behind the wheel of those motorized golf carts and more that we see all around Nocatee, for example, and some of the other communities in Ponte Vedra and Julington Creek, Durbin, and elsewhere. We'll obviously be following up with you on that developing storyline. This is the close of Florida's legislative session, and the one piece of business that Florida lawmakers have to do every year they still haven't done, and it's unclear when they actually are going to get their spending bill business done, as both sides are still very far apart, the House and Senate, on a budget. A closer look at some of the other pieces of legislation that ultimately will die because they didn't make it past the finish line this session. And we'll also look at some of the pieces of legislation that are now awaiting the governor's signature. One known as Trenton's Law, which would put some tighter restrictions in place and regulations and penalties for people who leave the scene of wrong-way crashes and those who are responsible ultimately for wrong-way crashes. I remember reporting on that awful death of the teenager, Trenton, who was killed by a wrong-way driver who was going well over 100 miles an hour. Those and other stories coming your way throughout Jacksonville's Morning News. We are live and local on 104.5 FM every weekday morning from 6 to 10 a.m. Oh, and by the way, we still have chances for you to win $1,000 in the payroll payout. 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Be listening for that key word. And if you're not listening to Jacksonville's Morning News, make sure you come back again at noon and 2 o'clock during Eric Erickson, and on the way home with Hannity at 5 p.m. for your chance to win $1,000.